Okay, are we on yet? Okay, thank you. Well, it being 7 o'clock, I'm calling this meeting of the Chelmsford Planning Board of 6/23/21 to order. The chairman will be here. He's running a couple of minutes behind, as is Henry. So we can get started. We don't have any minutes. Well, I guess we will jump in to the first item. This is Administrative Review, 240 Groton Road, request to endorse A&R. Now,
I'm going to recuse myself.
Now, if you recuse, 1, 2, 3, this is, no, she can't vote. 4.
5, Paul's on here.
No, Paul,
Oh, you count.
yeah, Nancy, Deirdre, and me at 4. Okay, that's a quorum.
Good to go.
We can do it. Okay,
I'll sit right away.
all right. And this is a request to endorse A&R lot consolidation, to endorse A&R easement plan, and request to endorse final plans. Let's see, there's a lot consolidation, created one singular lot, new lot, one from existing 5 lots. Okay, who's here to present?
Hi, Casey Ferrer from Howard St. Hudson.
Thank you, take it away.
Hi, so we are going to put aside the final site plans for sign off, but I do have copies of the 2 A&R plans I would like to sign off
Okay.
for tonight. If I could just.
Okay, so we're gonna defer the endorsement.
Of just the final site plans, the
Okay.
A&R plans I would
Okay.
like endorsed.
And this is one that you just emailed me, one of the plans.
That I just emailed you. Sent to them. Okay. So the first A&R plan essentially just creates one lot out of the 5 existing lots to make the subdivision a cleaner plan. And then the second A&R plan just creates the sewer easement and breaks off a piece of the new lot 1 and gives it to 7 Burton Lane
Okay,
to leave the new lot 1 for the future subdivision.
all right, let me see. So new lot 1.
Can't say that I understand.
Whereabouts is Burton Lane? Oh, okay, it's off Route 40. Gotcha. All right. So this is the lot 1. And then, okay, this is the first of the 2, and the second one breaks off.
Correct. The second one breaks off a piece that is labeled as Lot 2,
Okay.
and then it...
Now, are these houses still on site?
Yes. The existing houses are.
All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The existing houses that are on site have not been demolished yet.
Okay, but that permitting's underway?
All the permitting is under the site plan. That has
Okay.
not been...
Including the demo permits?
Yes.
Okay.
We are going to work with the DPW to figure out construction scheduling
Okay.
without the Mylar sign-off.
Well, as far as A&Rs go, certainly it's got to be as conforming as any of the individual pieces were. Anybody have a question? Evan, you have any thoughts on this one?
No, we just
Pretty straight.
do 2 separate motions.
Right. Well, we'll do this one first, and then we'll look at the split off of the new lot 2. All right, well, when you're ready, I'll entertain a motion to
Are we endorsing or accepting? Endorsing.
we're endorsing.
Motion to endorse A&R plan dated March 19th, 2021, that joins the previous lots
Yeah,
into a single lot 1.
I have a motion?
Second?
Okay. Deirdre got there first, I think. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 4. Okay, 4 zip. All right, that's the first one. And then,
Okay. Motion to.
well, let's, can we, I want to look at this one
Discuss.
first.
Yeah.
So where is the lot? Where's the new lot 2? Is it this piece here? Okay,
This is,
right. Right, okay, I understand. I see where it is. All right, so that's going to, so is that going to associate lot 2 with the other property over here?
With 7 Burton Lane.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that certainly is acceptable under the A&R rules. Any discussion? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to endorse the A&R easement plan.
Motion to endorse the A&R easement plan dated March 23rd, 2021, splitting the newly approved Lot 1 into 2 lots to include a new Lot 2 to be joined to an adjacent property
Gotcha.
with an easement.
with an easement.
Yep. All right, I have a motion, a second.
Second.
Deirdre seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's okay, 4 zip. All right,
Great. Thank you.
okay. And okay. And final plans will come later. Very good. Next on the agenda, we have 200 Turnpike Road. Review and approve decision. I believe this was a decision denying.
Yeah, so I have not prepared a decision on this. I did send the board an email, I think it was yesterday,
Yeah.
copying in 195-103, the special permit approval criteria, 1 through 6. And I essentially requested the board members to submit their findings to support the denial. So my preference handling this one is rather than me attempt to create the supporting findings and facts, I would prefer that you guys submit those for me.
I would agree with that.
In that it was fairly recently that request went out, I would suggest that we postpone this until the next meeting to give time to get all those inputs
Yeah, I
in.
mean, we can brainstorm tonight, or the board can choose to send them to me via email, and I'll consolidate them and
Send them out.
bring them
I
back to the board.
sent you some brief comments. I don't know if they rise to the
Yep.
level of fact statements, but
Right.
Is there a timetable that we need to, have the denial letter by?
The decision needs to be clocked in within 90 days.
okay, so we certainly can go one more meeting, and seeing as we just got that, you said, all right, I will entertain a motion to
Just really no action to table
no
this.
action, to table it until the next meeting.
Motion to table 200 Turnpike Road until the next meeting on, I don't know, what's the date? Until the second
Sep-
Wednesday of July. 14th.
Bastille Day.
There you go.
Okay. The next one up
You need a
is...
second and a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm
Second.
getting ahead of myself. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 5 zip.
What about him?
Next one is 61 Dunstable Road. Review and approve decision. This is for construction of a 3-unit residential building, which, this is the one that's actually the 2-unit?
Yes, so I am still working on this one. I'll have this one
Okay.
prepared for your July 14th.
Okay, yeah, this one's a little bit complicated. You wouldn't think so, but, yeah.
Motion to table the review and approve decision for 61 Dunstable Road till the next meeting on Bastille Day?
Motion?
Second?
In favor?
Aye.
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 That brings us to,
Okay. That brings us to the master plan update presentation. There are actually several members of the master plan committee here. Nancy and I are both on it. And everybody knows
Chairman,
George.
planning board members, Colleen handed this to me just in case you don't know who I am.
nicely done.
So the committee members were Nancy Arroway, representing the planning board, Ken LaFave from the select board, William Bill Murphy, citizen at large, Mike Raisbag, representing the planning board. He replaced Donald Van Dyne, who served for about, I think, 8 or 9 months. Joe Reddy, town meeting representative, Scott Rummel, citizen at large, and myself. I was on the 2010 master plan committee, so I'm here tonight before you
George,
as
excuse me.
chair.
The members, the presentation's on the screen
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So you think I can see that, huh?
for the members.
So one other person who's been attending the meetings is Fred Brusso. Fred serves on the Age-Friendly Committee, which started about the same time as the master plan. Started with a grant. Fred's been, I think, at every one of our meetings. He has provided valuable input, and we let him participate because it's for me, it's anybody who wants to help is welcome. So Fred's kind of an honorary member of the board. We've had some advisors to the committee: Evan Belansky, Chelmsford Community Development, Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, Beverly Woods, Jay Donovan, Justin Howard. We need to get this done because Beverly and Jay are retiring at the end of the year, so we need to get this done. And Vivian Merrill has been doing our minutes for us, so we appreciate that. So over the course of time, we've had input from Paul Cohen, Town Manager, Lisa Maroney, Business Development, Gary Persichetti, DPW, Facilities, Sewer and Parks. The water districts have submitted some paperwork. Sewer Department submitted some information. The Age-Friendly Committee and the Senior Center Director as well. Conservation Commission, Evan, BPAC, and the Historical Commission has submitted some things. So the time frame, we started in April of 2019. That's when the committee was appointed. On May 7th, we sat our first meeting. The committee decided to meet the second and fourth Thursday. COVID really threw a monkey wrench into our momentum. It stopped us for 4 or 5 months. And then subsequent to that, we've had Zoom meetings, which has worked pretty well. Then on the March 19th meeting, we talked about a public presentation and an input session, and we got stuck because of COVID. You couldn't meet in person. It really set us back. So what we ended up doing is we ended up putting together a survey, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Meetings resumed back in July via Zoom. What we expect at this point is we're presenting to the planning board tonight the different chapters, where we are with those chapters, for your review. So that way, if you have comments, to come back to us, or we'll have a joint meeting at some point and take those comments. After that, when we get those sections approved, and then the town will have to create an implementation committee, whether that's through the planning board or a combination planning board and select board. And then at some point, there'll be a presentation to town meeting. I'm hoping fall, but who knows? So the next slide basically talks about what is a master plan. It's basically, master plan is a comprehensive or far-reaching plan of action. I'm not going to read all this, but I think one of the most important things here is master plans are not binding laws or regulations on their own. There's recommendations in here. There's issues and opportunities and recommendations. The recommendations are high-level recommendations for respective parties, whether it be planning board, select board, town manager, and his respective departments, to go through and determine if those recommendations are going to be good and right for Chelmsford. It's not to take this and say, that's what master plan said, and that's what we're gonna do. It's up to the respective folks to really get into the nitty-gritty and make sure that that high-level discussion works for Chelmsford. So, in 2010, we had the sections you see on the left-hand side. The right-hand side, we have the same sections, but we split out natural resources into a separate section on its own. So it's basically the same format as 2010. We just added another section, or split a section up. So that's the next slide, please. Actually, maybe you're way ahead of me. So, meeting process, all of our meetings started with an open session for public input. Anybody want to come speak to us? The microphone's there. At the beginning, when we were meeting in person, we did get some input from several people. And then, of course, COVID hit and that dropped off. But Fred Brusso stayed with us every step of the way, updating us on age-friendly committee. So that way, what they were doing and what we were doing would not conflict with each other. We wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So, first thing the committee did is we took the 2010 plan and we updated the first part of each chapter, which is basically data, historical information. And once that was done, then we get into the issues and opportunities, and then we get into the recommendation section. Master Plan Committee identified 2010 issues and opportunities that were already addressed, and we also looked at the ones that weren't addressed. So the Master Plan Committee issues and opportunities recommendation sections with input from survey and respective departments. That's how we end up with those. I would say that it's a lot of reading. I would tell you that if you want to kind of skip over the historic part, get to the issues and opportunities and get to the recommendation sections, because that's where you're going to have the most input, I think. And then you can kind of go back. But if you're a speed reader, I'm sure you can get through all 500 pages real quick. So,
How many pages, if you don't mind my asking, are in the recommendation section?
the recommendation sections are usually, 2 or 3 pages maybe.
Yeah.
They're not terribly
chapter.
long. The issues and opportunities are just before that. That's another, 3 or 5 pages. So it's not a lot of reading there. So the way the committee started is we started with a thing we call a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we could see where the board members thought Chelmsford was strong, where Chelmsford was weak, where those possible opportunities, and where were their threats. So that gives a feeling for the board. We talked about the public input sessions, and in 2010 we had several public input sessions where we drew about 80 to 100 people max, and it was good. And we had some opportunities where people would go up, and we write down this, do SWOT analysis, write down everything, put up chart boards, and then people would go around and put colored buttons on what they thought was important, what was not important, and then we would compile that data. So with COVID, we couldn't do that. It really was hard to do. So we ended up putting together a survey. Age Friendly also helped us, and when I say age friendly, they looked at all ages, not just the senior population, but they looked at all ages. That was part of their drive with their committee. So we actually put some questions in there. We got the survey done, and to my surprise, we had over 1,200 responses. So I think that's a pretty good cross-section of the population, and they did age it out. They created a chart by age. I think the lowest number of people that responded were in the 25 range, give or take. And then after that, it really was pretty well balanced. Maybe a little higher on the senior end, but it was pretty balanced. So we felt that survey was well done. And Age Friendly actually used the survey. They asked if they could use the survey because they had hired a consultant. And that consultant actually used that survey. It's public knowledge. It's public available to the public, and so they used that to help with some of their recommendations. And their their document. So then we discussed the data, then we created our issues and opportunities, and we made our recommendations. So that was the process that we followed. So basically this is strictly an update. There's nothing, we didn't try to rewrite the whole plan. It's just an update to what was done in 2010. The format of 2010 really didn't change much. We developed new issues and opportunities, new recommendations. Some of 2010 opportunities and recommendations stayed, some went. The next step is really to present here to the planning board, and at some point we'll do it to the select board. And then we'll look for the planning board's approval, presentation town meeting, and implementation committee after that. So where we are today is our best guess is these are, we're 90 to 100% complete on all the chapters. And we feel really good about that. We haven't started an implementation plan yet, that document, which will be part of this. And we're working on now cleaning up a vision statement and creating a vision statement. That's coming together, I think, pretty nice. I think that we've got some really good input from several members. And we'll be, hopefully within the next couple of meetings, have that complete. And all these chapters, there's a link on your agenda this evening. All you have to do is click on it, get there, and the chapters are there. Because otherwise we have to print tons and tons of paper, and I think it'll be easier to read online and follow it through. So that's the presentation. I encourage you to look at it. If you have comments, get them back to Evan or myself, and we'll be glad to try to answer your questions or bring it up to the Master Plan Committee. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to take any questions or.
Thank you, George. And let me just, before we pass it around, add my appreciation for Fred. I mean, he was basically another member of that committee and did some marvelous stuff.
And we do welcome all input, so
Yep.
whether it be at the meeting or email to Community Development's office, and they'll pass it on to us. I'm sure Colleen would love to get more emails.
So, and anybody have any general questions and before we maybe think about next steps?
Thanks for the update. No, thanks for your commitment to doing this, and look forward to looking at it.
Well, I was hoping it'd be a 9-month project. It's turned into a 2-year project. So,
How was the one in 2010? That was,
we were done faster than this.
were ya?
Yep.
Didn't have a pandemic.
You didn't
You
have
had
a
Jim
pandemic
Lane.
in the middle.
Yeah, well, Jim was chair, I was secretary, and
Yeah,
Phil
he
Iliopoulos
was
was
ripping.
vice chair. But I'll tell you, I think what made a difference with that one is we met in person. We met in this room,
Yeah.
and we kicked around ideas and the homework that was done, because the way we did it is the chapter would get sent out, people would make comments, get it back to Evan or Beverly, they would compile all those, bring them to the meeting, and then we kick them around. And it was hard to do with the Zoom. It was really hard to do that. But where this is an update, I think this is something that is not too bad. So.
On the survey results, did anything surprise you that you got from the 1,200 response?
Not really. I mean, there was a few things in there that, some things that I thought were more important weren't quite as important. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what they were, but it was really good. Evan has those results, and I'm sure we can present them to the board. The summary of everything that's compiled. And there was also a section in the survey where people could make a comment. And that was 70 pages long.
Wow.
So, because they just took those comments and, it was basically a paragraph, maybe 2. There's a couple that wrote a little bit more, but most of them were quick comments. Some didn't want to see big buildings and development. A lot of trees. Some felt that, bicycle traffic is more important than very important in town to make sure there's bike lanes. I mean, there's little things like that. But we also put some age questions in there, and transportation for the elderly is an issue in town. it's hard for the elderly to get around to doctor's appointments and that type of thing, because there's just not great transit for that. But no, I wasn't too surprised, but please look at the survey. It is interesting, and it does have a lot of information. And like I said, 1,200 responses. I didn't expect that. I expected 200 or 300.
Not more than people voted, right?
Yeah, just about.
And what we did is we reached out to like the library. It went out to the library, went to the senior center, went to the schools. I mean, we tried to reach out there, all different places. We had it available in paper format, but mostly with SurveyMonkey. And I think there's maybe a couple hundred, 150 to 200 paper responses. The library had it on their computers so that people could do it there. So we really tried to reach out and get people to respond. And I think we did a good job with that.
What was the window of time that it was open? How long was it?
Well,
Quite a
we
while.
started it just before COVID, and then COVID hit, and we just left it open for like 3 months.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, 3 to 4 months. So it didn't leave that a short window. It left an opportunity to put it out on the town website a couple times and mention it here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
So good.
Thank you very much for your time, George.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
We have a
And,
meeting tomorrow night,
Yeah, we'll see you there.
7:00,
Wouldn't miss it.
in person.
In
right here.
person.
Yeah.
First in-person meeting.
Yep. Yeah, one thing I would say is, I think it behooves us to try to get through the review of this fairly expeditiously. I mean, really, as George said, it's all there at this point. 90 to 100% there in each chapter.
Yeah, there's details and tweaks, but
Yeah,
it's
there's some,
there.
we expect tweaks.
Yeah.
If there are to be any bigger shifts, we need to know about them right away.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's up to the planning board to have a discussion whether they
Yeah.
want to look at a joint meeting in, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, a second meeting in July or something. I know July is going to be a tough schedule because I'm away the first week.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm away the second, so
well, that's,
or part
A
of
lot of
it.
people taking vacations.
yeah. So, I know that you guys have been having work sessions, so it might be something that you want to think about, that we split a work session, master plan committee for an hour or so and your stuff for an hour, but that's up to you guys. If you don't feel it's necessary and you want to just get comments over, that's fine too. If you want to come to our meeting, you're welcome. And just let us know ahead of time so we make sure that we have you on the agenda. So we, because on the agenda, we usually pick 2 or 3 topics that we talk about. But if you want to talk about it all, we'll put it all on there. I don't care. So, and our meetings go from 7 to 9. We try to, 9 o'clock, call it. And we've been, I think once we went over by about 10 minutes.
Unlike some other boards.
So, all right?
Thanks a lot, George.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got to say, it's kind of fun being on that committee. All right. Yeah, it's a disease. We have 99 Littleton Road has been continued to July 14th. Yes, we are going to need a motion to,
Motion to continue 99 Littleton Road to the next meeting on July 14th.
Second.
motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. 6-zip.
You're noisy up there.
Yeah. Okay, that takes care of that. Now, continued public hearing, 1 Bill Ricker Road.
Should I go sit in the audience?
Yeah, you probably want to.
I should probably be sitting in the audience since I stopped doing the last one, too.
Do we have a quorum on this?
Special permit?
Yeah, there are if we get to special permits tonight, but it's going to be tight. That would,
It is a special permit hearing.
yeah.
Did-
So,
Henry, did
Which
you
means
recuse?
Erica can,
Who's doing the whole other thing?
What about the last meeting when this was in
I
front of the
wasn't
board?
here, but I did take and.
Did you mow
it?
it?
I mowned and all of it.
Then, do you want to recuse yourself at this point? Or
I
are you,
recused because of an issue that I had with the owner.
Oh, this is the second, I'm talking about this new hearing.
The new hearing.
Are you participating in this new hearing?
Still the same owner.
Still, same owner.
Same issue.
Same
Okay.
owner.
I understand, but he said he mullened in.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I listened to
agree.
the whole thing. I listened to the whole thing and went through it, but
Okay, but you haven't mullened, you haven't,
I haven't physically.
oh, okay, okay.
Okay,
All right.
Yep.
so we're running it fairly tight here.
You have 4 majority. Oh, do you need a supermajority? Oh, we'll get 5.
No, we have 5. We do have the supermajority, but as I said, it's going to
Yeah.
be tight.
This is the first chapter,
Yeah.
No.
We gotta vote. We just gotta vote.
No, this was actually continued.
but there was no testimony.
No, there was not, as far as I know, any
There was testimony at the last meeting, at a meeting in the past, there's
Okay.
been testimony. Council was there.
All right, well, let me, I presume Melissa is representing the proponents here?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Attorney Melissa Robbins from the law firm of Farrell and Robbins. Can I just ask so Henry has recused himself. I know that Deidre also is recused. So this evening, who are we missing as voting members?
We are missing Tim, who said he would be here. Might be a little bit late. If you prefer, we can certainly wait for 5 or 10 minutes and see if he makes it in. You want to give him a text? We're going to text him now. I had talked to him earlier in the day, and he is fully expecting to be here.
I think that I would prefer to wait to have a full quorum this evening, Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind
Not at all.
taking another matter
Eminently
out of
reasonable.
We
order.
don't have any other matters.
Okay, that's a problem.
Well, we can talk about new business and
Master plan,
itemizing.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a few
Okay.
things we take care of.
Thank you.
All right, I can come back for that.
All right. Okay. New business, discussion and scheduling of work sessions.
Yeah, I think the last few have been really
Rather good.
helpful.
Yes.
I would ask if anybody, I got Weston Nursery to come in last time. Does anybody else have anybody else that would like to come in and speak to us? I mean, I thought it was very helpful.
I thought it
But
was too. I learned
Christina's
a great
presentation
deal.
also was very helpful.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying is there anybody else that you want to get their stuff out there to think about?
I'd love to have somebody do how to read a site plan 101 for me, but that doesn't necessarily have to rise to the
Asian.
matter
Well, I
of
mean,
a...
I think what we should be looking at, shut me off if you want me to.
Oh, no.
I mean,
Go
he
ahead.
recommended we go to the 3-gallon plants,
Yes, which made eminent good sense. and
Makes a
we
lot
can
of sense.
certainly-
which we
Yeah.
may want to take a vote on sometime in the future.
Is that currently in regulations or in?
recommendation.
What was the comment or question?
A 3-gallon plant, he had recommended for a lot of these things.
Yeah, we'd have to revise your rules and regulations.
Which we can do. That's not a
Correct.
bylaw change.
Right.
We can do that internally. Well, I mean, I think right off the gun, that's probably one that we want to do.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we need to take and put to is the ACs, make sure that it's in.
That it's at least on our list for consideration.
Well, we need to know where they are.
Yes,
We don't need to consider it, we need to know.
yeah. Yeah, wherever it is,
Where
Wherever
do we
it
put
is,
that
it-
request? As part of the rules?
Well, you know,
That would be
Yeah,
regulations.
We'll add it to the submission requirements, to show it on a plan.
yeah.
Okay.
Kevin,
so-
where's that document?
It's within the rules and regs.
I'm looking, is it part of the code, the town code?
No, the rules and regs are not part of the town code. You'd likely find it on the planning board website.
Okay.
Only other things that I was thinking about is, you know, we should take and loop around the stormwater thing too about curbing and cut curbing, because Christina says she's not gonna force an applicant to do something that we're not asking them to do, but we did, Western Nursery came in, she gave us a good thing.
Yeah.
We need to consider what we're gonna do for applicants in the future as far as shedding water. Do we cut, do we have curb everywhere, do we cut, how do we gently nudge the
Right.
applicants to be more.
Is there a way to have a request/recommendation in our
We've always had a
guidelines?
recommendation on the 4,000K lights.
That's right.
Right.
We can put recommendations in, but, I mean, it's something else for us to have a discussion about. I'm not saying we gotta make a decision.
Well, okay, thank you. Well, you know what we certainly could do, because the regulations are going to require a little bit of drafting, not much for the two items that we've definitely got on the list.
Yeah.
Is we might want to vote right now to update the regulations to cover those.
No, I think we should draft first.
Well, I mean, that's it, we need to get the draft.
Yeah, I mean, so,
So maybe we should take an action to do that?
yeah, I mean, if we're only talking about adding 3-gallon and AC units, put in the Kelvin lighting, and maybe there's some others.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's not much drafting involved.
right.
The
Speaking
another
of
thing she
lighting,
mentioned was the not raising the curbs.
Well, I think we need to talk about it more in a work session. We kind of lightly hit on upon it, and we
Okay.
need to have Christina here for that discussion, whatever we're doing. But I just think that's a discussion we need to have.
Button it up
Yeah.
better.
now, on a related matter, it's not directly regulation, this would probably be bylaw. I had a conversation with Kelly Beatty the other night, and he had suggested that perhaps he could come in to discuss developments in the industry and what have you. I think that makes some sense to have him come to a work session.
Yeah, I think it makes some sense. I think it's something to be discussed in a work session.
Yeah, I think we want to discuss it in the work session before it rises to the level of a bylaw change.
As last time I had an issue where he tried changing everything instead
Yeah.
of just,
Yeah, well, let's have a chat with him, see what he has to say. Evan, could you, I have his contact info, you probably have it too.
I do. The challenge is just, you know, when's the next work session, and when do you want Kelly to come in?
We'll take a picture of his business card.
How about another work session 3 weeks from tonight?
What's the date of that meeting?
That would be.
I'm going to say it's the 21st.
That would be the 7th of July? Because 14th is a regular board meeting. 7th?
Yeah, the third one is the 14th.
The third one's the 14th. Oh, okay. In that case, 4 weeks from
Oh,
tonight.
no, I'm sorry.
The 21st. How about the 21st? So the Wednesday in between our standard board meetings.
I think we've accomplished some good things.
But I don't want to let the momentum go.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Okay, so let's plan on a work session for the 21st. Do people have a preference of 6:30 versus 7 o'clock versus 6 o'clock or anything else? I mean,
Doesn't make any difference.
7 o'clock's a bit better for me.
okay, well then let's keep it at
We
7.
also got to take in contact Christina if we're going to be talking about, maybe she could try to we can get a little letter to her talking about, you know, let's recap what we talked about.
Yeah.
Is there some stuff that she'd like to see in the?
Yeah, we certainly should
Yeah.
involve her. Well, let's, can you tell her what we're up to and,
Yep.
and see if she she may just want to submit something.
Oh, she's there, she's listening.
Oh, there she is. Hi.
Hi. So I am listening, and I actually have an excellent document that is about 8 pages long. It's prepared by EPA, and it outlines some excellent steps and things to look for when you're rewriting your regs to include and incorporate low-impact development and green infrastructure. So I'd like to email that to you so you can take a look at it, and I think we can integrate a lot of that into our revisions.
Bingo.
That's
How does
awesome.
that
Work
sound?
sessions are working out, I
Perfect.
guess. Good, yeah, send that along. And would you be able to make a work session on the 21st? Or do you think that's useful?
July 21st?
July 21st, yeah. Wednesday.
I thought we said the 14th.
She's checking a calendar.
I actually
Right.
don't think, I don't think I'm going to be around then.
Okay, that's fine. But, you know, send what you've got. and we'll have a look at that. So we'll schedule that, and Evan, you'll give Kevin a call?
Kelly Beatty, yes.
Kelly, I'm
Yep.
sorry, Kelly.
Wait,
and,
did we say the work session's gonna be the 14th or the 21st?
21st. 14th is a regular planning board meeting. Okay.
Tim's gonna try to zoom in.
Okay, okay. How those socks are doing?
This was on our,
No, that was pretty much it for what we had on the list.
did anybody have any meetings of any type? Center Village, NEMCOG, nothing been coming up on anybody to give us any?
I think you've got,
We had Vinyl Square meeting.
Yeah.
There's a survey right now that's out there, that's still live, I think, right, Evan?
Yes.
Of the input of, for potential improvements to Vinyl Square. So there's a survey out there right now, a public survey, that if you're interested, it's on the website.
Town website.
Okay. Center Village met last Thursday, I guess. Last Thursday? I don't know. And the topics of discussion are still centering around parking, both the need for handicap parking, on-street handicap parking, and the potential need to limit the duration of parking on the street, and the potential of restrictions on who can use the parking on the street and what for. That's basically what it's focused around.
Okay. Well, it turns out that Tim has zoomed in.
There we go.
Does he have video or is it just audio?
Doesn't have a mic, there you go. Hold on your mic.
I'm on, Colleen.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Attorney Robbins, if you're still out there, we are one stronger than we were.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I appreciate you just taking the delay so we could have a full board here. What we'd like to start with this evening is just, the board had many comments and questions during our opening hearing. I know that you have some information in your packet from Ben Swenson regarding some of those responses. So, Mr. Chair, if you'd like, what we'd like to do first is go through some of those responses.
Great, please do.
I have a, I can take it over, Melissa. Well, good evening, Chair Shanahan. Thanks for making that, and members of the Chelmsford Planning Board. My name is Ben Swenson, and I represent Americal Management Company, a small family-owned company located in Los Angeles, California. First, I'd like to thank you for agreeing to reopen the public hearing for the project at 1 through 5 Billerica Road and 41 to 44 Central Square. As you know, as many of you know, our company purchased the property back in 2000. At that time, Sovereign Bank was leasing the entire property and responsible for all the maintenance of the property and the buildings. Then Santander Bank purchased Sovereign in 2009 and took over those maintenance obligations until last year when we were able to regain control of the property, including the 2 historic buildings. We appreciate all the feedback from the public and the board during the May 26th Planning Board meeting. The revised plans before you today and my letter of June 14th attempt to address the comments and concerns that were raised that evening. There are also some minor revisions to the landscaping in the rear of the Oddfellows building, along with an added dumpster pad and an ADA path travel. Casey Ferreira from Howard Stein Hudson is available in person to answer any questions the board may have regarding these proposed changes. During the May 26 meeting, it was expressed that there was concern regarding the number of parking spaces allocated to the Oddfellows parcel, since a restaurant was being proposed in conjunction with the restoration of the building. We've heard of those concerns and have agreed to allocate and convey an additional 10 parking spaces as shown in the revised plans to the Oddfellows parcel. These additional spaces will increase the amount of parking on the Oddfellows parcel from 37 to 47 parking spaces. This is 9 more parking spaces than would be required under the previous code, which allowed for a 50% reduction in parking for a restaurant. Under the newly proposed 20% parking reduction, the Oddfellows project would require an additional 11 parking spaces and therefore is requesting a special permit for parking. Ali Zosharafatain of Oddfellows Project LLC has been working with the abutters as well to secure additional employee parking during peak hours if necessary, and he will discuss his progress with those abutters in a moment. We also heard concerns from the Chelmsford Board of Health regarding the environmental situation at the rear of this property that emanated from the adjoining property. This was a result of a chemical release from a dry cleaner that had been located at the former Stop and Shop Center south of our site many, many years ago. The Oddfellows restoration will comply with applicable Mass DEP guidelines in connection with any excavation at the proposed site. And we have the licensed site professional, Tim Snay of Ransom Environmental Consulting LLC. He's available this evening to answer any questions related to this concern. We've also heard about the questions about the Brook Walk. To address this concern, AmeriCal and Oddfellows Project LLC will agree to convey a general easement, as shown on the revised plans, from the edge of pavement to Beaver Brook for the purpose of a future Brook Walk for the benefit of the town and the public. And finally, there was a concern about public safety in the parking lot that was discussed. The question was raised as to whether sidewalks are necessary from the parking area. To address this concern, we requested that the Chelmsford Police Department review the existing lot to determine whether there were any safety concerns and whether internal sidewalks were necessary. There's a letter attached to the submittal package from Police Chief Spiney from the Chelmsford Police Department that's dated June 3rd, 2021. Chief Spiney reviewed the site and the applicable records and determined there was no need to add internal sidewalks within the existing parking lot. We really appreciate all the discussions to date and efforts put forth by this board to preserve the Oddfellows property while balancing other areas of concern. The preservation of Oddfellows is only possible through the subdivision of this property, and AmeriCal is committed to having a productive dialogue with the town regarding any future development plans for the balance of the property. The present goal is to preserve this important asset, which has anchored the town center since 1896. In summary, this board and the community has offered some important concerns and comments, and we've really tried to respond with solutions to meet your concerns. It's not an exaggeration to say that time is of the essence based on the condition of this building. I'd welcome any discussions or questions regarding the revised plans and responses that we've submitted before you this evening. And I know that Ali also would like to say a few words to the board. So I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ali, you're muted.
Sorry. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Ben. Members of the board, Mr. Chairman. I was planning to be there in person, but my son had other plans for me. He decided to have a surgery yesterday in Seattle, so I had to fly out to Seattle, and instead I'm coming live to you from a hospital room in Seattle. So I apologize if there are any beeping noises or anything, any chat in the background. I have no control over that. As Ben mentioned, that we are trying to, again, we allocated 10 more spaces after some negotiation. It was very kind of AmeriCal and Ben to give us additional 10 spaces. We have engaged in dialogue with Mr. Andy Wilson, All Saints Church, and Rudy Sotomayor from Golf Gas Station in Central Square, trying to secure additional parking lot, if anything, for our employees. Those negotiations are ongoing. As you know, it's very difficult to get everybody in short matter of time to agree on details, but we are talking. We have a dialogue going. As far as the parking spaces, I truly feel comfortable that our parking space will be adequate for the business we're doing because of we have the Santander Bank and the Fisk House. We have an aerial photograph, I don't know if Colin has it, of Central Square that it really shows how many parking spaces are available throughout Andiamo, Plaza, Fishbones, Odd Fellows parking lot. And I think, as I mentioned last time, everybody needs to come together and share those assets. And that's going to be a discussion. It's going to take time. It's not going to be 2 weeks. It's not going to be a month. It's going to be 2 or 3 months. And I'm afraid the Odd Fellows does not have that kind of time to sit around while we figure out the parking spaces. We've been at this for 2 years now, and the building has deteriorated right in front of our eyes. Construction costs has gone up, as everybody knows. This is not a surprise to anybody. And the project is getting more expensive by the day. This is not a real bottom line kind of a project for us. We are hoping that it will pay dividends 5 or 6 years, again, hoping. I think it will be a great deal to the Central Square and the Chelmsford community. We at Fishbones, we are paying about $35,000 to $40,000 in mills taxes to the town, and not including the real taxes. And we're doing the same thing for the town and the community. And also we will have 8 standard rent apartments especially for employees, and it's not going to be a high-end condo development or anything like that. So I think it's going to be a great project for the town. And I respectfully ask the board to give us some kind of indication if this parking is something that we can work out or it doesn't, because I don't think we have much more time, and I really do not want to pay any more energy or even financial assets toward this project. My partner, Human Bayani, is available this evening. He's in person. If you have any technical questions about the building and anything about the restaurant and the parking, I will gladly be able to answer you those questions. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Tim, do you want me to manage it from here? Or do you want to
Mike, if you don't mind, just because I'm in my car.
Okay, I'll manage it from here then.
I'll manage it from here then. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it looks to me as if we have 2 things in front of us. Now, this is, before we get to the public hearing, we have to,
Oh, you gotta mute yourself again.
yeah, you're going to have to mute yourself there. Okay. Before we get to the public hearing, let me frame what we need to do. What we're being asked to do right now is to give our approval to to determine that the new proposal contains specific and material changes and allow it to go forward. The second thing, I think, is a general sense that the proponents would like of what we feel about the project, and particularly the parking question, seeing as we have changed our bylaws in that regard. We are still certainly within our rights as a board to waive enough of the parking to allow them to do the parking that they propose. That's, have I got that pretty much right, Evan? That characterizes it pretty well. With that said, this is a public hearing, and a continued public hearing, and I'd like to open it up now to any public comment, if there is any. Okay. Seeing none.
Excuse me.
There we go. Oh, hi, Mike.
Don't forget Mike.
Please don't. I do have a couple of questions. Normally, I would wait for the board to go forward with their comments, but if you want to hear public first, that's fine with me. In terms of the parking, I have, I guess, one technical question first. The idea of getting additional parking either at All Saints or with Rudy, presumably that would be valet parking. And I guess my question would be, where would that valet interchange happen?
I think it was stated to be employee parking. Is that correct?
May I answer that? Yes, correct. Employee.
I see. Okay, so there wouldn't be any kind of activity going on in front of the building?
I cannot hear you.
So there wouldn't be any
Like, try
drop-offs or pickups in front of the building, right?
try turning off the video.
Video?
My
Yeah.
video?
Can help with the connection sometimes.
Okay, is that any better?
Yes.
Much.
Okay, so I just, yeah, perhaps I misunderstood or misheard that. So basically what you're saying is that once the employees get there, there's not going to be any kind of pickup or drop-offs anywhere around the building?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Additionally, I think while the chair has raised the point that, or the acting chair, that you can waive enough of the parking to make this proposal work, it would be a special permit, and I'd like to hear an affirmative case made for it. What is the justification for reducing those number of spots? I happened to go through the lot once again this afternoon about 6:30. There were 26 cars in the lot. All but 3 of the other public parking spots nearby, essentially those on the road, were already full. There was a 4th, actually, if you count the one up in front of the lawyer's office. But the public parking right now is using that lot. And so now you're going to put essentially another 11 cars in trying to use that public parking lot. And there's just, right now we have a day-to-day kind of situation where the town has access to the lot, but it could be removed basically at any point. I said it last time, I'll say it again. If the town had some sort of long-term control over 25 to 30 spaces in that lot, parking would not be an issue at all. It would just be done. And while I understand that's not the responsibility of this applicant, I do think the planning board should have some global sense of how the parking is going to work in the center, not just for one business, but for all of the businesses. I understand that there's a time component here, but there's a long-term component too, and we can't sacrifice the next 20 years to do one project. So I think there needs to be a little bit more justification than a simple request for relief from the parking standards. I would also like to hear, and I don't know if tonight or the next hearing is more appropriate about this. I'd like to hear from the LSP about what the work that will need to be done in the parking lot looks like. What are the implications of that? Who's responsible for monitoring that? I'm not on my A game tonight. I don't know where the real responsibility for some of this work lies. There's building or work that's being proposed within the 30-foot no disturb, or I'm sorry, no impervious, and the 50-foot no disturb. Presumably that's something for the Conservation Commission to work on. But in terms of making sure that the removal and disposal of the existing surface layer is done right, I don't know who's responsible for that. I'd like to hear more from this board about how that should be handled, because even though there's not an awful lot of that work to be done, I think whatever kind of standards are implemented here are going to become the de facto baseline for other work in that lot in the future. Finally, I am glad to hear about the offer of space for the Brook Walk. I have one follow-on question for that, which would be, as you know, the overarching goal is to have a Brook Walk that would connect all the way from Summer Street to the rail trail. And the extra bit of Oddfellows, the late addition, prevents any direct access to the street from where that brick walk would be. So it got discussed a little bit in the prior proposal. I haven't seen anything about it here. Is there a plan to get people from the end of the brook walk behind Oddfellows out around Oddfellows and to the other side of the, basically just out to the sidewalk?
Okay.
And that's what I've got. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, some of these questions I would say are a bit premature. They're certainly valid. But at this point, I think we need to make the determination as to whether to allow the application to continue per 48 Section 16.
Mr. Chair, if I may just interject, I think you already made those two votes during your initial hearing. You made the first vote to that there had been a substantial change, and then a secondary vote to reopen the public hearing. So both of those opening votes have already been made.
They've been taken care of then. Good.
Yes.
I wasn't sure that we'd actually completed that. But in that case, then we are at the point of discussing the special permits. Well, let me ask the proponent if there are any particular comments they'd like to make based on those. I see no other public comment. Do you have anything pending?
I would like to speak as an abutter.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Sorry, this is rather impromptu. I don't know why I didn't plan sooner, but Deirdre Conley, 19 Billrica Road. So I share Mike's concerns about the parking, and while I agree that the parking, we can make probably a positive case that there's adequate parking in the 47 spots for this business, I do have concerns about the general town parking, and I feel like in a way we're taking this project in a vacuum, because that's how it's being, I mean, that's how it has to be, but I feel like it's been an issue that I regret that the town and the property owner haven't come to some kind of agreement about long prior to now, and I would love it if there was some kind of framework to moving forward between the owner of the property and the town for that large amount of parking spaces to come under town control and thus to be available to the whole center village district and townspeople. And I feel like if we just take this and then we potentially carve out that later, that we're leaving ourselves vulnerable to not addressing that issue.
Yeah, there's something to what you say. Unfortunately, the way these things work, you have to deal with them individually. Is there anybody else from the public that wants to comment? And then we'll let the proponents make some responses. I see somebody standing up there, but I don't know whether that, okay, fine. In that case, do you wish to make any comments on what's been
My
said?
name is Fred Faust, and I'm representing Americal, and Ben Swenson is obviously has the ability to comment as well.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of damned if you do and damned if you don't. You come in with a large project, you provide a brook walk, you concede that you will pay for the brook walk. The other part of the plan is turned down, and we fully respect that decision, and now we're being criticized because it's not a comprehensive plan. This is not a public parking lot. It never was a public parking lot. For 18 years, Americal has given at no cost the parking to the municipality, and now they're, again, being penalized for it. It's not a municipal parking lot. Those 26 spaces, and I completely disagree with Mr. Rigney, he must go out and count after half of his relatives have come into the town. We've counted as well, okay? There are not 26 parking spaces that are used in that parking lot on a regular basis. And Ali's staff has gone out and counted that, and the number is significantly lower. So if that's a problem, then I guess Americal should take away the parking spaces and dedicate those parking spaces to overflow for the restaurant or other uses, but Americal has not chosen to do that because Americal has been generous in using those parking spaces paying for the taxes, paying for the snow plowing, and doing everything else. Ben has said publicly, and he said it again tonight, if the town wants to have a dialogue, and he reinforced the same thing to Paul Cohen in the last week, he will come out here and have a dialogue. But to penalize a project for somebody's ownership of a parcel that someone would like to use for parking, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's within the parameters of the board. And the final thing is that Mr. Rigney has sort of dropped his defense of saving the Oddfellows. He failed to mention that today. Now he's into parking and parking counts and environmental and everything else. So my theory from watching this happen for the last year and a half, and it ain't my first rodeo, if somebody's against it, fine, say you're against it. We understand why he's against it. We have made efforts, and I have had 2 conversations with Mike and reached out and sent letters to all the butters to have a discussion about all the issues, and we've addressed them fairly, reasonably, and with respect. And now at the last minute, there are more of these issues, and mud is being thrown on the parking lot and in the board, and it's not a fair way to take up a public discussion. So we're prepared to respond to any of those issues. They are legitimate issues in writing. The effort, as suggested by Evan Belansky, your staff, was to be able to respond to these specific issues that were brought up by the board.
Right.
We've done our best to do that. It may not be perfect. We're completely open to a dialogue with the board members to see how we could make this even better, and we would encourage that to happen tonight. But as Ally has said, with the condition of the building and the deterioration and the fact that Marical has continued to make concessions to keep these developers in the deal, the building is truly at risk. I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional about this, but I am emotional because I think Marical is trying to do the right thing for the town.
Yeah. Thank you. Tim?
Right, I just wanted to say, I don't think you're being penalized. I mean, that was just one board member that she was actually speaking as a neighbor. Because we haven't gone around to the rest of the board because, you know, I don't agree with that whole. Do I agree that there has to be some issues with parking? I've been saying this from day one. But I also believe that this project would be great for the town center. So I definitely can understand where Deirdre is coming from and where Mike is coming from. And I agree that something needs to be done. But I don't think you're being penalized because of that. That's just their opinion on it. And, you know, we haven't heard from the rest of the board yet, but that's kind of where I stand. Just wanted you to know that.
Thanks, Tim. Okay. Well, I guess at this point, if we have no more public input, is there any reason that you can think of, Evan, for us to want to leave it open for additional public input? Or are we at the point?
Well, I would keep it open until the board clearly indicates their, where they are to the applicant.
Okay.
Because we haven't gone around, or the board hasn't gone around.
And I think it's about time for that.
And depending on individual board members' comments, concerns, or otherwise, the applicant may be able to provide additional clarification.
Then let's handle it on that basis. Let's go around the board once for comments and questions. Want to start, Nancy?
Yeah. I think the only question I have at this point is, Christine, has Christine thoroughly reviewed this plan, and are there outstanding issues?
I think she's on the call.
Yeah, she is.
I told her I would let her know that she was interested.
Okay, we'll give her a minute
Well,
to get to us.
she's needed.
Sorry, give me a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I have not seen the latest revision of the plans. I believe they came in late last week, so I would still need to review those.
Okay, then from my standpoint, I have no concerns, but I also have no desire to take a vote until Christine's clear.
Fair enough. Mike?
First of all, I think the project is a great project for the city, the town, and I think it's great, and I'm looking at a couple of questions that I have that are not, and they're not game, they don't end the game, but the question I have what are you doing with the rest of the parking? You're allocating so many spaces, you have a lot of spaces that are out there. Why couldn't you just give the restaurant the additional 11 spaces, and then you step out of the special permit?
Closes the door on the other building.
But the other building doesn't need that many parking spots. So what are they holding the
You don't know
number?
what they're doing with it yet.
What are they trying to do with that down the road?
Presently, the Fisk building, unless there were alterations made similar to what was proposed previously, only has 3 parking spaces. So by going to 47 spaces, I think Evan wants to respond as well. By going to 47 spaces,
Yeah.
we want to keep some allocation for the remainder of the project, 'cause we don't know what's going to happen at the Fisk building. We don't want that to be precluded from, say, being, a restored office building.
You need to
But
save
I
it
mean,
for
the
Fisk.
size of that building,
Well,
Wouldn't need
what I would
47
say,
spaces.
what I would say is that, as Ben said today, this is trying to address solely the subdivision for Oddfellows.
Right.
We will have to come back to this board and all of the other boards when we have a project. We don't have a project with the Fisk House. We don't have any project at the back of the lot. Ben is committed to coming out in the next week or two and sitting down with the town manager. There are people who expressed, willingness to work together with regard to the back lot. That has not been taken off the table. Right now, we've just tried to focus on the subdivision and saving the Oddfellows building.
Understood.
okay.
Thank you.
We
I
are
understand.
more than willing to have that discussion.
Yeah, no, that explains that. So there's a future plan. I was just thinking of the Fisk House. So there is a potential future plan of doing something in the parking lot.
There's no plan today.
Okay.
There's a plan, if the subdivision doesn't happen, we can't do the Fisk House either.
Right.
If the subdivision happens, then we'll look to the Fisk House. There's no plan and there's been no discussion about what to do or not to do with the back lot, the 0.
Okay. That's all I have. I mean, that's
Okay. Tim, you got anything?
I don't. I really said what I needed to say there. I obviously know the parking is an issue, but I think, like they just said, we're dealing with this right now. And I really hope that the town is talking and tries to sit down with America and figure out something with the lot. It's a no-brainer. That's all I got.
Hey, Paul?
The 8 units, is that a deal breaker on the development of that property?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear.
The 8 apartments, is that a deal breaker for the development of that property? The house?
This is Ali again. I'm not sure if I understand the question. What do you mean by deal breaker?
Is it needed to have those there? Is that would bring you under the parking?
Yes, absolutely. That's just helps us with the financing, with the additional income.
That's the only question I had.
Thank you.
I like the project.
Understood. Okay, thank you, Paul. Erica?
I don't have any big comments other than I do think this sounds like a good idea to me. I think it would be a good use for that space. I mean, I've lived in Chelmsford my whole life, and I don't think I've ever seen anything happening at the Oddfellows building.
Yeah.
So, I think that would be kind of a nice change to see. I understand that the parking is concerning, but it sounds like a project that needs to be handled at a much larger scale in terms of, providing parking for the center of town.
Great.
So.
Thank you. Well, I guess I get to throw my 2 cents in. I want to stand up for the building. I am a lover of old buildings. I live in one myself, which is maybe 10 years older than the Oddfellows. And as you've noted, we've been around here a very long time wishing that something good would happen to Oddfellows, and this very much looks like it. I'm quite in favor of this. I recognize that parking in the center is problematic no matter what you do. Parking in Chelmsford Center is a problem, and there's no easy solution for it. If there were, somebody would have probably gotten a Nobel Peace Prize for finding it. So it's going to have to be worked out bit by bit, lot by lot. I would love to have a comprehensive plan, but nobody to date has been able to come up with something that enough people could sign on to as a comprehensive plan. So I think the proposal as made with the parking request as presented is certainly reasonable. I'm certainly, if the proponents want a sense of what this particular board member feels about the project, you can paint me as being quite in favor of it. And there you have it. What would our next step be?
I would do one final round of public comment. If there's no more public comment, I would close the
Close it
hearing.
at this point?
If the board doesn't have any additional questions, then
Maybe
direct
draft?
staff to draft a decision.
Okay, I think that makes eminent good sense. Is there anybody else in the public who would like to comment?
For new comments.
Huh?
For new comments.
For new comments, but at this point, I don't hear crowds beating at the door.
Mike's got his mic.
Mike? Okay, Mike, you're on. I was kind of waiting for Mike to pipe up.
No, we turned off his mic.
You did?
Yeah, while we're waiting for him, I'm just
They
going
didn't
to
answer
say,
his question.
I
All right.
am very much in favor of this project.
Right, thanks. I think really we all are.
Can we ask the question, Mike asked a couple of good questions.
Yeah, he did.
What work will be done on the parking lot and locations?
Yeah.
And also, who is monitoring that? So, can the engineer or someone just respond to
The
the...
LSP that's been working on the project, I believe he's on the Zoom call and he can answer those questions.
Okay, that'd be great. I just want to answer Mike's questions, the resident.
Yeah, Tim Snee from Ransom Consulting can answer that. There he is. Thanks, Tim.
Good evening. My name's Tim Snee. I'm with Ransom Consulting, and we're working with Ben and others we're working on some of the environmental due diligence that was part of some of the ongoing property-related work. Would it be possible for me to share my screen with the board?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. We got to figure out. Okay. Please hold. So if you give me permission, I'll share my screen. I just want to bring up a drawing that shows the relationship between. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is a site plan that we've created, and we've included it in some submittals to the Mass DEP. And I put it up to be illustrative of the relationship between the property that is Oddfellows and the areas of this part of town where there has been evidence of groundwater contamination related to former dry cleaning operations. So in this drawing, you'll see here is the Oddfellows building and property. This is an identified release of chlorinated solvents related to dry cleaning to groundwater at this property from a Care Cleaners dry cleaning facility. And this is the one that people have talked about previously, which is the former Paramount Cleaners dry cleaning facility. And this dark green is essentially the plume of groundwater contamination as determined by the licensed professional that's overseeing the cleanup at the Paramount Cleaners property. And as part of our investigation, we had advanced and installed additional groundwater monitoring wells on the back portion of the parking lot. And based on our data, we have sort of superimposed what we believe would be a more accurate representation of the extent of groundwater contamination, as shown by this green dashed line. So at the end of the day, what we're seeing is that there's no indication that there's groundwater contamination underlying this area of the property. So therefore, as much as there's a concern about making sure that whatever excavation work is done with respect to foundation utility work at Oddfellows, based on our information and data we've gathered to date, we think it's unlikely that there's any contamination that will be encountered at the Oddfellows property as it relates to these identified releases. So, as much as, if there is an issue that is identified during earthwork, then certainly we could get involved and facilitate ensuring that there's not a problem and that whatever actions need to be taken to be compliant with the regulations are done. But at this point, and based on our understanding of conditions, we don't expect there to be any issues with respect to construction at Oddfellows that will require oversight by a licensed professional. So I just wanted to share this screen just to give you guys a lay of the land and our interpretation of the extent of contamination and its relationship to the Odd Fellows parcel. So thank you for taking my time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this is what, a big trichlor, perchlor plume? From
Yeah, trichloroethene, excuse me, tetrachloroethene, or PCE, which is a dry cleaning solution.
Yep. Yeah, it's all over the place.
It's unfortunate, but that's what happened.
Yeah, as we
So
discovered.
just to answer the question directly,
Yeah.
I would strongly discourage the board from including anything remotely
Yeah.
related to
That-
DEP jurisdictional
I
contamination.
agree, that is not our expertise, and the state is well set up with organizations that can do this better than we can. So, okay. One last shot at public input. Hearing none, I would accept a motion.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close.
Second?
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
5. Okay. The public hearing is closed on this matter. Now,
Motion to continue?
well, no, before we do that, let's discuss the next step.
Okay.
Which I gathered from going around the board once, that there is a general favorable view. That being the case, I think it probably behooves us to get a draft decision put together based on that view, and then continue to the next meeting to review that in detail and go through the special permit, the permits that are necessary.
Right, so now that you've closed the hearing, there's no need to make a motion to continue.
That's true, okay.
So this will just be, I will draft a decision and have it available for your next meeting on July 14th.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And are we going to get Christina's comments back on that date?
We'll likely get them
Yeah.
for that
They'll be
meeting.
merged into that, I would imagine. Okay, any other comments from any members of the board before we move on to the next? I think I know what the next item is. Okay, is there any new business? We already discussed the work session
Deirdre, you can come back.
planning. Yeah, you can come back here, Deirdre. Have I got that right, Deirdre?
Deirdre. Thank you.
Only took me 3 meetings. No new business? How about old business? Anything?
So I have a question. Did we decide what we're going to talk about at the next work session?
Let's see, we did,
It was the electric bill, right? Wasn't it?
We talked about Kelly Beatty for lighting and Christina Papadopoulos for the EPA.
Green.
Yep.
Green design.
yeah, and she was going to send around the, she said she had an 8 or 9 pager.
Yep.
For the EPA. That would
I thought of something else I wanted to put on your list.
You had,
No, I thought of a new thing.
oh, okay. You can say it out, or you can send it to me.
I think we should have a work session to talk about our interaction with the public. Whether it's when we're presenting a warrant article, a town meeting. I think that probably based on the town meeting that we just completed, we might need to have a more of a champion for warrants and maybe some public sessions to discuss.
That's a fair
and have
fair
some-
question. Now, we obviously did have public sessions because these are warrant articles.
we've always
Those
had
people came in at the last minute, and maybe that's them not paying attention. But I mean, so I think that's one thing, and there's other things too pertaining to public interaction, whether it's our interaction on Facebook. I feel like we should have some kind of guidelines for our interacting on Facebook.
Especially for new members, absolutely. I think we should know
I
what we
think
can do and what
that's
not
a
to do.
discussion well worth having.
And the other thing is, I really think we should have a public input session in our meetings.
Just
Either
a
at
general
the-
public
Yep.
input session?
Either
Certainly
at the
nothing.
beginning or at the
Okay.
end. I think that we need more of a interaction, transparency,
And I think on, Deirdre, on the emails especially, we're talking about, someone should respond, we received it, we've all received it, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For them to go, one person, I don't know who that is, maybe it's your office, I don't know, just someone needs to respond, be responsible to respond to that person, because I think they felt they were unheard, but we
Right.
saw them.
Right.
And then they came in
We
here.
had
They
128
were ready to
pages.
they were ready
Yeah, right,
They
and
thought
then-
we were ignoring them. We saw every single email.
Right.
But we weren't responding, because I think we can't respond.
Well, and
We
we
don't
have
want to
some-
get into
yeah.
dialogue with them on email, because it's a legal document, right?
Well,
When-
it's
if we
certainly
respond,
discoverable.
If it goes through the town server,
right,
most of you are using personal emails,
right,
not town emails. We can set you up with a town email.
yeah,
But as Mike said, it's also discoverable.
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, a recommendation would be not to respond.
Yeah, of
as a-
course.
Yeah, or if a response is to be made, it should be made in a general way, rather, and I think where this gets a little bit difficult for a number of us is a number of us got individual inquiries.
Yeah.
And I think we need to talk about what the best strategy is. My personal view on that is to say, thank you for your input, we'll pass it around to
Take
the
it under
board.
advisement.
We'll take it under advisement and never go beyond
It's
that.
part of the record.
Yeah, because it is part of the record, or it can
Right, no, I
be.
get it.
Okay, why don't we give that some discussion at the next.
We'll add it to the
work
list.
session?
The list is long at this point.
It's long, and we may not actually discuss it deeply at the next meeting.
Right.
But we can get it started. Okay, so that's no minutes, no new business, no old business. Next meeting is the 14th, after that it's the 28th of July. Gee.
And we
Do
have
we
the
have a
21st.
strategy?
And the
for dealing
21st,
with-
we have a work session.
I'd like to know if we have a strategy, like, what's our policy on minutes? Like,
It's done by the state. I know we're way behind.
Yeah, we are.
You know how long it takes me to do a 3.5-hour meeting that has been
Yeah.
since January? It takes me 8.5 hours.
Well, we do have to be careful, because there are state
are state regs for
requirements
it.
on that, and we're probably kissing the edge of that.
skirting them.
So, but I know what you mean. I know what it's like.
Are you getting inquiries?
Not yet.
My suggestion is, let staff do what we need to do.
It's our job.
I understand that it's ultimately the board's, but you guys seem to have a lot on your plate. We're aware that we need to do minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
was
know,
just asking if there's, how do what happens?
We get to them when we get to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some rules. But,
My point is, I think the board can continue to go about your business. The minutes arrive, you vote on them.
Yeah.
My point is, I'm not aware of any board relying on minutes to make decisions.
No,
No.
No,
that
no.
is true, but it
No, but
is
it is a
an
legal
important piece
documentation of what
public access.
transpired.
No,
We'll get to it.
The ones you did, we asked for it on one of the projects. You did it, which was great. And that was awesome, because there was so much information that we had to review.
All right.
So,
Okay.
he's making the motion.
I'll make a motion
Yes,
to adjourn.
second.
I second that.
Everybody
Paul's
seconds
got it.
that.
All in favor?
Adjourned by acclaim.
Paul, enjoy your boat ride.
Really?
Yeah, we're going out to Boston Harbor right now.
Have fun.